Hi, welcome to my June reading wrap up. Last month it was a decent reading month compared to the previous ones, especially when it comes to the amount of books that I read. I finally managed to get back to double digit again with 10 books. So yeah, let's just get started, I guess. The first one that I read was a novella. I got it as an arc from NetGalley. It's called Ghost of the Neon God by T.R. Napper. So this is like a cyberpunk short novella about AI and stuff like that. And it takes place in Australia. I liked it. I mean, it wasn't anything special because for me usually novellas it's a bit harder for me to find good novellas because they're just too short normally, and I think this is one of those. I mean, it's good but it's not like great. I like the writing, I like the AI stuff, and I like the fact that since it's in Australia, some of it feels kind of like Mad Max-esque but with more technology, especially with like the chase scenes which takes place in like the desert. And yeah, I liked it. The next one is a short story collection, which is No One Will Come Back for Us and Other Stories by Premee Mohamed. I was impressed by the first Premee Mohamed book that I read before, and I don't remember. It was in one of it was. I don't remember the title. I think it was like the Migration of Clouds or something. And so before the sequel came out this last month, I decided to read something else. I mean, I ended up not reading the sequel yet because of other books. But yeah, so this is like a short story collection, usually featuring like eldritch horror stuff, like cosmic horror stuff, and I really enjoyed it actually. I mean, it's like a lot of short story collections, it's a bit like unbalanced. Some of them are really good, some of them are just meh, which is the same like experience that I had with this, but overall I still enjoyed it. Some of the stories are indeed forgettable, but some of them I still remember very vividly. And yeah, I'm gonna be reading more of this author in the future, definitely. And then the next one is a superhero like YA book. It's Dreadnought by April Daniels. This is like a trans superhero story featuring a trans girl, I guess. And every time I read or even just like watch any superhero story these days, I always compare them to Wildbow's Worm and Ward, which are still my favorite superhero stories ever. Like, there's just nothing else that compares to it, to them. And so yeah, while I was reading Dreadnought, I just couldn't stop thinking about how some of the world building were kind of similar, but that feeling went away really quickly because the focus of this isn't really much in the superhero stuff. I mean, it does focus on that too, but the main focus, I think, it's on the main character and the fact that she's trans. And I really enjoyed it. I really want to read the second book, but the third book still hasn't come out yet, which maybe I'll wait until the third book comes out, whenever it comes out, before I read the second book. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. And the next book is Adrian Tchaikovsky's Surface Model. So this is like Murderbot plus that one Ishiguro book. I don't remember the title. One with the butlers. It reminded me of that, and it was so funny. Like, it's not like the dialogues are funny. I mean, some of them are funny, but the funny part, I think, it's in the narration, because the main character is a robot and he's he's funny, but in a way that he doesn't realize is funny, if that makes sense. And yeah, I just love the way Adrian Tchaikovsky writes. I mean, Alien Clay from a couple of months ago is still my number one favorite book. And yeah, by the way, I'm gonna record like a top 10 favorite of 2024 so far soon, so keep an eye on that, I guess. And yeah, this is not quite as good, I think, but it's close. And yeah, I really need to read more of Tchaikovsky's like backlist, like his older books, because the new ones are just amazing. And there's another one coming out later this month, so yeah, it's just so prolific. I don't know, it's crazy. The next one is a space opera adventure, like not thriller. Yeah, it's the Stardust Grail by Yume Kitasei. So I remember the author's like debut came out last year, and it made like a big splash in the sci-fi community. A lot of people were talking about it. I didn't really like it. Didn't interest me that much, so I never ended up reading it. But this was really good. Well, maybe not really good, but it's good. It's a bit of a heist story, I guess, like space heist. It reminds me of Becky Chambers a bit. I don't know, everything reminds me of Becky Chambers. Like a lot of the stuff that I read these days just remind me of Becky Chambers books, so maybe it's just me, but yeah, it reminded me of that, except it has plot and it has, tension, stakes and stuff like that. And although it's not like one of my favorite books of the year, I still think it's really good. And if you're looking for like a space heist story, I think you might like this. Next, I read a literary sci-fi called Beautyland by Marie-Helene Bertino. I think that's how I don't know how to pronounce names, but yeah. So this is a story about a girl who thinks that she's an alien sent to Earth in order to observe Earth and humans, so that she can tell her bosses whether Earth would be good for her species. And like this is it's kind of a weird premise, but I really like this. This is so good. The main character, very interesting, and the writing style is beautiful. And it's literary fiction first and sci-fi second, so I think it's more likely that literary fiction like readers would enjoy this, but sci-fi readers might not. But I definitely did. This was amazing, one of the best books of the year, and you're gonna see it in a lot of like mainstream literary fiction like top lists, but you're probably not gonna see it in a lot of like sci-fi lists. So yeah. The next book that I read, it's The Stars Too Fondly by Emily Hamilton. So this is supposed to be like a rom-com, I guess, space opera, but I never found the book to be like particularly funny. I didn't understand the comedy part, I guess. And the science space part is a bit wonky, to say the least. It's kind of weird, but the characters are so, I don't know how to say it. They feel like teenagers, even though they're supposed to be in their mid to late 20s, if I'm not mistaken. I still enjoyed it, but it's definitely not one of my favorites of the year. I didn't regret reading it or anything, because it was still enjoyable enough. But yeah. The next one is a sequel. It's Deep Roots by Ruthanna Emrys. Yeah, the second book in her Innsmouth Legacy series after Wintertide, which I read a couple of months ago. So this was, I think, better than the first book, even though the first book was good. This one is a bit different though. It doesn't feel horror at all. It feels more like mystery, adventure, and less cosmic horror. The cosmic horror stuff is just kind of in the background, not really the main point of the story anymore, but I still liked it. And I just like the group of main characters. well, not the group of like there's only one main character really, but I like her and the group around her. I think their dynamic is super interesting, and yeah, I don't know. Ruthanna Emrys just writes really well, at least here. I still didn't like her standalone solar punk book. I didn't think that was written like that well, as I said in my wrap up a couple of months ago. But these like Innsmouth Legacy books, they're really good, like really well written. So yeah. Okay, so the next one, this this one, it's Rakesfall by Vajra Chandrasekera, by the same guy who wrote The Saint of Bright Doors, which was very well, like critically acclaimed. But this one is very different, and I don't think it will be received quite as well. This one is a lot more difficult, it's a lot more inaccessible, it's a lot more surreal, and it's just so fucking weird, and I loved it. I mean, I gave it like a 4.5 stars, but I totally understand why like the average rating on Goodreads is like 3.5. It's super low. People are not liking this as much as they like his debut, The Saint of Bright Doors, which is a lot more accessible for like mainstream readers. But this one is not. It's difficult. I don't even know how to like like summarize it. It's like summarize the premise. It's kind of similar to This Is How You Win. This Is How You Lose the Time War by Max Gladstone and oh my god, I forgot the other author's name. Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot the other author's name, but it's very similar to that novella, except it's thicker, it's even more difficult to understand, and it's even more poetic, and it's even more like crazy high concept, and I absolutely loved it. But I get why a lot of people have not enjoyed it as much, so it is what it is. And the final book that I read this month was the fourth Wayfarer's novel from Becky Chambers, The Galaxy and the Crown Within. And with that, I think I've read every single book that Becky Chambers has written so far, and I think she has become one of my favorite authors, which I should make a video about that sometimes. But yeah, I really like this one. The previous one was probably my least favorite Becky Chambers book, but this one was really good. It's about this group of aliens stuck on like a space, like the space equivalent of like a gas station, and they're stuck there for a couple of days because of some accident in orbit, and they just have to learn more about each other and about themselves, and it's just so delightful. And I love all of the characters. Basically, they're so different and they're so like human and yet alien at the same time. Like there's this way of writing characters that Becky Chambers has mastered, and I think this book is just another example of that. Like, I don't know, the characters are so compelling. It's so no one writes characters like Becky Chambers basically, and I just love this book so much. And yeah, I think she's one of my favorite authors now. Can't wait to see what else she's gonna come up with next. And yeah, I think that's it. Hopefully I can read even more this month. We'll see. But yeah, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed it, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe as always. Bye.